G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we're going to learn how to make a pair of slippers. This is going to be a series of videos as there are 6 different sizes and I've broken them up into 6 different tutorials. All the links will be below in the description box for the different sizes. As you can see from this photo, there are different widths. A slipper is very easy to adjust the length, so as long as you have the width right, you can make the length the size that you desire. And you will need 1.1 ounces or approximately 30 grams of yarn for this project. If you are using sports weight 8 ply or double knit yarn, I suggest that you use the next size up in the videos. We will be using Red Heart Super Saver in the colour Deft Blue. So let's get started on the lesson. For our supplies, we need a yarn needle with a large eye, a pair of scissors. These scissors are now available on my website. I will put the link below so that you can go and check them out. We're going to need a crochet hook, but it's going to need to be smaller than what is recommended for the yarn. Normally the yarn recommends a 5.5 or an eye size hook, but we're going to need one that's going to give us some firm tension. So this is equivalent to about a G size. I don't think the US have a 4.5mm crochet hook. So about a G size instead of the eye, you're going to drop down 2 sizes than what you would normally use for the yarn. And because we all have different tension, you may have a different size that you use that's what's recommended for the yarn. And what I'm using today is some Red Heart Super Saver. And this is the colour Deft Blue. D-E-F-T, I think that's how you pronounce it. So let's get started on the slipper. So to start off, we're going to use a magic ring for this pattern. You can use a chain 4 and join, but I find that the magic ring works a lot better for this pattern. So we're going to start with a magic ring. There are plenty of different ways to do this. What I do is just wrap my yarn around my fingers, grab those bits of yarn, and what we want to do is chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to work 2 double crochets into the center. Chain 1. I'm just going to pull that a bit tighter. And then we want to work 3 double crochets into the center ring. Chain 1, 3 double crochets in the center, chain 1, and altogether we want 6 groups of 3 double crochets. So that's our first, second and third. So we need to do 3 more. So 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I need 1 more. Because altogether we need 6 groups of 3 double crochet in the middle. So chain 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to pull that so it's a little bit tighter. We will fix that up at the end, we'll sew it in. So we want to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. So it's the 3rd chain that we made. Now we want to slip stitch across to the chain 1 space, which is over here. So into the next 2 double crochets we're going to slip stitch. we're going to chain 3 and work 2 double crochet stitches into that chain 1 space. We're going to chain 1 and back into that same chain 1 space we want to work 3 more double crochets. So this is the increase round of our slipper. So we've got that part there. It looks like a corner of a granny square if you've made a granny square before. So we don't work any chain 1s, only when we've done the 2 into the 1, but in between the other ones we don't work any chain 1. So there's no chain 1 there. So yarning over, going into the next chain 1 space, we're going to work 3 double crochets. And then we're going to do the same thing into the next chain 1 space. Into the next chain 1 space here, we want to work another increase. So going into the center there, into the chain 1 space, work 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 double crochets in again. So that's what it's looking like so far. So you've got 2 in there, then 1, and then 2. And in these next 2 chain 1 spaces we want to work 3 double crochets in both. So also the next one there. And then we're going to join to the top of the chain 3 up here. Join that with a slip stitch. Now what we want to do is work a few rows, and we're not going to be doing any increasing. So what we need to do is slip stitch over to this chain 1 space, because that was our increase. So there's a chain 1 here. So into the next 2 double crochets, work a slip stitch, and also into the chain 1 space, work a slip stitch, chain 3, 2 double crochets into that same chain 1 space, and into each space around, so each space around here and the chain 1s, we're going to work 3 double crochets. And there's no chain 1 in between. We don't do chain 1 anymore for the remainder of the pattern. So 3 into the next space. So repeat this all the way around, just working 3 double crochets into each space around, and I'll meet you back when we get here. What we want to do now, because we've worked all the way around, slip stitch to the top of the chain 3, and now we just want to make rounds, to make the toe section longer, and this can easily be adjusted. On the one that we had in the beginning of the video, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows, or rounds, whatever you want to call them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, I got 6. And then I started the back section of the slipper. So you can adjust that to whatever you like. If you want this front section to be longer, as you're making it, you'll see how long it's getting. If you want it to be longer, add more rows, rounds. And if you want it to be shorter, just add less. So it's very easy to adjust that part of the pattern, and it's also easier to adjust how long we're making it, because when you get up to this section you can just add more or less as well. So what we want to do is slip stitch across, We want to slip stitch all the way over to our space. We're going to chain up 3. What we do now is we just repeat the last round that we did until we have the amount of rounds that we need. So 2 double crochets into the same space, and in each space around we work 3 double crochets. So continue on. Like I said, you can make different amount of rounds if you like. I'm going to make this the same as the other one I made, so they match. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds altogether. That's starting from here, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to add another 2 after this one, and then I'll meet up with you then, because it's just repeating this one that we've just done and the one that we did before. So you don't want to sit there and watch me do that. So when we've got our 6, or the amount of rounds that you like, I will meet up with you then. So I've slip stitched to join, and what we want to do again is slip stitch across to the space. And we're going to chain up 3, 2 double crochets into the same space. And then we're going to work around again like we did on the round before, but we're going to stop and we're going to leave the last 2 spaces empty. So we're going to stop when we get to here. So let's just zip around. Sorry, we had a bit of a yarn situation happening there and got myself into a knot. So I've just gone around and I've left the last 2 holes, last 2 spaces empty, because this is where the foot opening is going to, like around the ankle. So we don't need to crochet right around, otherwise how are we going to get our foot in? So what we need to do now is chain 3. I just heard thunder. Hope it doesn't start storming. And then into this next space we're going to work 3 double crochets, and into each space across work 3 double crochets. So keep going across. I'm sitting at a really strange angle to crochet, which doesn't look like I am, but I am. And sometimes my stitches just fall off. Well, that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So what we need to do is imitate what we did at the beginning of this row. And see how we've got 1 stitch by itself and then we've got a space, then we've got our 3. So we want to mirror image it down this way. So we've got 3, then we need a space, and then we need 1 stitch by itself. So what we need to do is double crochet into that end one there. And that's the same for each row from now on. You need to have it looking exactly like it did on the other end. So double crochet into there, because we've got a stitch by itself and a gap, and then stitch by itself and a gap. So what we need to do now is chain up 3, turn our work around, and now we've got this space. So the space is really close to this chain 3, so we want to work 2 double crochets into there. So that counts as our first group of 3 double crochets. And what is going to happen when we work up the sides here, each row will alternate. So one row will have just one stitch, and then the next row will have 3. And then the next row up will have 1 stitch. Okay, so if you can remember that, that will kind of remind you what to do. So work across, making 3 double crochets in each space. I thought it was going to be a quiet cicada day today, but the sun's out now and I can hear them getting louder and louder. You've probably noticed it on the camera too. Looks like it's about to rain, so that'll make them quiet. So all the way across, now we've got this space here, and remember how I said you've got to make it look the same on each end? You've got 3 double crochets on the end. Well, that's technically a chain 3, but counts as a double crochet. So on this end we want 3 double crochets. So going into this space, working 3 double crochets. Now they look exactly the same. So now we need to work our next row. So remember how I said it had 1 stitch by itself, then a group of 3, and you alternate between that. So the next one is going to be 1 stitch by itself. So to make that, we chain up 3, turn our work around, and now we don't have a gap to work into. There's no space here. Plus we need to alternate what that looks like. So 1 stitch by itself, and then 3, 1 stitch by itself. So that means into that next gap we do 3 double crochets. Into each space across we do 3 double crochets. It's a really bad year for cicadas here too, by the way. So that is why you can hear them in the background. So we need to do 1 stitch by itself. So double crochet into the last stitch. And try and get 2 loops. So there we go, that's what it's looking like. So how many rows did I do on this one? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how many have we done? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need to do one more. Can't even see that when I was counting then, could you? 1, 2, 3, 4. Need to do one more row to make our 5. And like I said, if you need to make it longer, by all means keep going. So our next row is our chain up 3 and 2 double crochets into that space. So complete that row, and then I will show you what we do when we need to join it together. So I'm finished at the end of my row. Now here's a little tip for you. If you had to add one less or one more, and when you finish on 3 double crochets like that, you're already ready to single crochet around, like you're already in the correct position to go around like that. But if you finished on a row and it had the 1 double crochet into the last stitch, so like this one, you will actually finish on this end. Now when you look at it, if you finished on this end, you're not in the right position unless you're left-handed. You're not in the right position to crochet because you need to go that way around. So if you finish on this side, what you will do, you'll have your yarn on your hook here, so it'll be sort of like that. What you need to do is slip stitch across and slip stitch into that top of that stitch there. Okay, and then that will get you into the correct position to single crochet around the outside of the opening there. Okay, so if you finish with 3 double crochets, you're already in that right position because you were going to go that way. But if you finished over there, you'll just need to slip stitch here and then continue around. Now in the other size slippers that I have the tutorials for, some of those patterns do actually finish on the one I was just talking about. So we will finish on a double crochet in the last stitch. So that's what we do on that video. But if you haven't watched those videos, you won't know that. So that's what you do. So now what we need to do is chain 1. And if you've slip stitched across to just join it at the back there, you're still going to chain up 1. We're going to single crochet around the opening of the slipper. So let's zoom in a little bit. What we need to do is, there's not really stitches like normal, like that's the side of the stitch. So it's a matter of just placing your hook through and try and get 2 loops at the top there. It'll make it more secure. It won't pull up this big loop, it'll pull up 2 and be not so messy. So if you pull up 1, you'll get this huge hole. If you can go under 2, it doesn't pull up. Camera keeps trying to focus. Maybe I'm too close. So through here, let's see if we can grab 2 loops. We can. Single crochet. So we're sort of making a space to crochet into. Okay, so when we finish this edge section, we'll be going across the instep, and there's actually stitches to work into, so that's easy peasy. So going into here. Oops. So work your way across. Oh, and here, this last lot of 3 double crochets is where we slip stitch across to get to that space for the next row. So you've actually got to go underneath the slip stitches, and it can be a little bit, as you can see by that. I'm about to give you a prime example, not being able to get my hook back out. There we go. Can be a little bit harder. It does go through, it's just that because we've got that slip stitch there, it's taking up all the room. But like you say, or like you see I should say, you can work it in there. So again, working along the edge, try and pick up 2 loops if you can. Work your edging, and I'll meet up with you when we are back around, or when we're at the end of here, or if you had to slip stitch across in the beginning, we'll meet up where you've got to the end of your row. So if you haven't already slip stitched across when we first started, what we need to do is find the first stitch, and if you did slip stitch to join in the beginning, you'll just slip stitch into this stitch here. And I'm just checking my other slipper. I've worked 2 rows of single crochet, so you could finish off now if you like, but to do another row, chain 1. And this part's easy. We're just going to single crochet in each stitch. This is the easy part. There's no need to try and find a stitch because it's right there in front of us. So just working your way around, and then I'll meet you when we get to the back to the beginning here at the back of the seam. So once we get back to the beginning, we're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet, and that will just join up that round there. we're going to cut off our yarn, but we need to cut off, we're going to say 6 inches because we need it enough to sew that up together. You could slip stitch it together, but I'm going to sew it. So, cutting off our yarn. And I'm just going to pull that straight out. What we need to do now is turn it inside out. Ooh. It's looking so cute already. I'm going to thread that. And because our yarn is coming out of here and we want it to come over there, I'm just going to go under those stitches just to thread that so it's in the right position. Folding it in half, and we're going to go through all stitches. So under both loops on both pieces, front and back. Don't pull too tight. If you pull really tight, you just want it snug. If you pull too tight, it's going to make it bunch up and it's going to look feral. There's a good Aussie word for you, feral. It basically means like a feral animal, scary and yucky. So, stitching that last one. What I'm going to do is, before I pull it tight, I'm going to go through the loop. And that secures that off. So just make sure it's not really tight seam. You want it to be able to go like that. And then we're just going to sew back across, hiding our ends as we go. In there. And because it's only a short little distance that we can sew it across, I'm actually going to go back the other way. So again, I just stretched it out so it wasn't all bunched up where I'd pulled the thread through. See how it bunches up when you pull the thread through? You don't want to leave it like that because that does look feral. So just pulling it back out. Snipping that off. Looks really good. And then we just secure this starting tail off. Now if you've used the magic ring, I find if I don't secure it down, over time it actually comes undone. Well, I've had that happen for one project, so that was enough to make me go, okay, I need to secure it. So after you've done it a little bit, what I like to do is just pick up a couple of stitches and then go back through the loop before you pull it tight, and that secures that off there, and then sew in your ends. I mean, luckily when it came undone on the other project, it didn't actually properly come undone, like the stitches didn't fall out. It just got really loose and the hole in the center got really big. So luckily I could just sew it back in. And it was on a bag, and I didn't use it that many times for it to come undone. Alrighty, so sewing that off there, snip that off there. And turn it back in the right way. That is so cute. Where's the other one? So there we go, we have, so you're going to have to make another one. I already made the other one as my test pattern, and now I have two. They are so cute. I know who this is going to go to. I know a little boy, which I'm hoping these are going to fit. He's about 4, and that looks about the right size because they do stretch once you have them on. They will stretch a little bit, because we use the firm tension, it shouldn't stretch too much. And also, if you find that they have stretched too much and they're getting too big around the opening, you could make a chain, thread it through the outside, and you could tie it up at the front, or you could thread it so it ties up at the back. You could use ribbon, or you could just make a chain with some yarn. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Please subscribe, as there will be plenty more videos to come. Please share your creations on our Facebook page. We'd love to see what everyone's been up to and to get inspiration from everybody's colour combinations and projects that they're making. If you want more free patterns, go to my website. There will be links below in the description box. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy crochet!